Today I'm going to be showing you how to recreate this $300 for Love and Lemons dress, creating your own custom fabric for less than $20. What's really fun about this project is you can apply this DIY to clothes that are already in your closet if you're looking for a little bit of an upcycle or a refresh, or you can create your own fabric and make something from scratch. So here's what you're going to need. Most importantly, you are going to need some iron-on printable paper. I used the Cricut brand, and I used the printable iron-on for light fabrics, and that's because I am going to use my Cricut to cut out the shapes and designs so that it's much easier to iron these designs onto the fabric. Now, you don't have to use the Cricut paper if you don't have a Cricut, but you can use any brand. Make sure it works with your printer. My printer is an inkjet printer. Most likely you are going to have to use one in order for this project to work. You can use that with your iron and then a regular pair of scissors to cut out every single one of your designs. The Cricut makes this a lot faster. Each one of these packages comes with 5 sheets of paper, which has this grid backing on it. And then it also comes with this protectant sheet so that you can iron the design onto the fabric and the design won't get stuck to your iron. Other than that, you are going to need your art designs, and I will walk you through how I custom made my designs. If you're anything like me, you might not be great at illustrating, painting, drawing. It's definitely not my strong suit. So what I did was buy this watercolor brush set off of Etsy. It's $4.50. It's really easy to install and it comes with all these different textures. And so what I did was I installed this into Illustrator and then drew out shapes that I felt were in the same vibe as the For Love and Lemons dress. So just to give you a quick sample. So if I grab my brush and I start drawing brush marks on my screen, it makes them look like watercolor. So for things like the lemon, I just kind of drew in half circles until I had the shape that I wanted. You can also drag and drop these onto existing brush strokes to change depending on what you are looking for. But another way that you could do this is instead of drawing them, you could purchase some stock artwork and print that out, or you could actually paint these as watercolor pieces of paper and then upload them into your computer and prepare them to be printed for the Cricut. And I'm going to link below to a video on how to use the print to cut feature on your Cricut, and that will walk you through all the steps of how to prepare your files for printing. Then once I was done finalizing all my different designs, I laid them out on 3 different printable sheets of paper so that I had varying size and varying colors. So these are the 3 pages that I was working with when I would print them off on my printer and then put them on my Cricut to be cut out. And you can also see that I added a white outline, and that helps tell the Cricut where to cut around the design. But again, I'll link to a video that can explain that a lot better than I do. And let's get to cutting out and ironing these onto our fabric. We are using a brand new thrifted sheet to save on costs. This was $3.99, brand new with the tag, hasn't even been used. And it's got to be at least a king size sheet, so got a lot of fabric out of this one. This is the Carla strapless maxi dress. Comes in at $2.89 by For Love and Lemons, and they actually use this print in a few different designs. You could really make this design in any sewing pattern that you wanted to use. If you're looking for a sewing pattern, you're definitely going to want to use one that's strapless. You can see it has some darts in the back to help add shaping, as well as a center back zipper, and this does appear to me, it has such a nice drape that it's, I'm gonna say it's cut on the bias. And if we look really closely, we can see some bust darts here as well. And then in this photo here, you can see they used some gripped back elastic along the bust, and that helps keep the dress from sliding off of your body. To be honest, I find it to be quite uncomfortable. And then from here, you'll also want to count the amount of designs on this dress, and that will help you calculate how many different pieces of artwork you need to come up with and then how many pieces of paper to buy. So I bought 2 packs, so I had 10 pieces of paper to work with, and I used 8 of them. which worked out to about 100 designs. I am definitely still getting used to using my projector, but I absolutely love it. I had this pattern drafted and cut out rather quickly, and I no longer have to print a bunch of paper in order to get my pattern. So I'm still really loving it. Here you can see I'm using chalk to draw out the outline of my pattern piece. I have since discovered that using a rotary cutter and a cutting mat is going to be my quickest way moving forward. And here you can see I'm just adjusting the fabric based off of the shape that's being projected. So I've definitely refined my process here a little bit since cutting out this project. And before I started sewing or even preparation for getting the designs onto the fabric, I really wanted to make sure that I pressed all the wrinkles out. One, it helps your garment look 10 times more professional, and two, I'm going to need everything to be nice and flat so that I have the best chance of my designs looking the best when I iron them onto the fabric. We're about to do the first print to cut test on my Cricut. And there is my first test print. You can see the Cricut cut an outline all the way around each design. Now, don't be silly like me. I first thought that my Cricut was supposed to fully cut through the paper, and that is not the case. The Cricut will cut the top layer so that you can peel the iron-on design off of the paper backing, if that makes sense. So you're left with these really thin, kind of translucent pieces. I just use some of my Cricut tools. You could also use a pair of tweezers if you don't have this particular tool that I've been using here to get the iron-on transfer off of its backing. Now, when it comes time to iron these designs on, you want to be sure that you're using the protective paper to keep your fabric safe, and that's why it's also really important that you're working with a fabric that can handle high heat. I believe these designs need about 400 degrees with pressure for 30 seconds in order to be adhered to the fabric. So keep that in mind when you are going to be selecting fabric for this project. I'm getting ready to start the back of the dress. Now, what I found really interesting is I assumed that with my Cricut I was going to be able to print all the way to the edge of the paper, and that is not the case, which now that I think about it makes sense because the printer has to add these black corner bars so that the Cricut can make sure that it is aligned when it cuts out your design. So just keep that in mind. Kind of feels like a lot of wasted space with the paper, but I think 3 pages should be enough, but I would not be surprised if I have to use a 4th page to complete the designs on this dress. Then once you have all your art pieces complete, it is time to get sewing. Really, the longest part of this project is figuring out where all your designs are going to go and then standing there with the iron for a full 30 seconds to make sure that the designs are really adhered to the fabric. And really, I just drafted a very simple column strapless dress. In hindsight, I really wish I had cut this on the bias, but I didn't have enough fabric to do that since I wanted to line this dress since it is a bed sheet, so it is a little thin. And for that reason alone, I honestly might remake this project in some really nice fabric because I do really love it. I'm actually kind of impressed with myself on how the artwork turned out, so you might be seeing more of this design. And here is the final look. I think if I had cut this dress on the bias and used a slightly nicer fabric, I think I would have almost the exact same dress. So props to you who can make dresses out of bed sheets. I don't think it's going to be my favorite moving forward, but I do still really love this dress. I hope you enjoyed this project and that it gave you some inspiration for custom making your own fabric. If you use this tutorial, please tag me so that I can see what you made. See you in the next one.